Hello everyone, welcome back for another video. My name is Talk FPL, your helping hand for FPL 24-25. In today's video, we're going to be going over the best players to buy for Game Week 24. If you do enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and without further ado, let's get into it. Starting off then, we have two managers to talk about. The two managers with a double game week. David Moyes, who I will be putting in won't have, and Arne Slot, who's going in could have. Luca Digne, the FPL troll is back. I'm going to put him in, I'm thinking could have, but I'm also thinking won't have. I'm going to say won't have because they have Champions League on Wednesday. I assume Maatsen will start that. I assume Digne plays the game against Wolves, but I do assume he gets injured in the game against Ipswich. So with that in mind, Digne's I won't have. Jordan Pickford next. Now, I don't like goalkeeper transfers, but I'm not going to put in won't have because there's some people with Flecken as their goalkeeper, Fabianski, and if you need a goalkeeper just for 1 week or just going forward from this week, Pickford's your man. The Leicester game, the Everton still have a very good defence. They've kept 8 clean sheets this season. Their attack's been the problem. Pickford actually should have had an assist for the penalty won through a handball against Brighton. But I do reckon he'll get quite a few saves on the double game week. He's not a guaranteed transfer. You don't need him for the double. It's not that you should have him. You just could have him. Now, Leandro Trossard. He's another could have for me. Could have for the reason that without Saka, without Odegaard, potentially without Odegaard next week as well, against City I wouldn't have him. But going forward from that, the most logical pass, the most times a pass was played in their game against Villa was Gabriel to Trossard. He's been seen as that focal point of attack now that Saka's gone. And if Odegaard is in the squad whilst he's there, that is going to only increase that appeal. Now, I'm not particularly looking forward to watching Arsenal when they play. I don't think that he's going to be hauling 16, 20, 2, 3 goals a week. But what he will be doing is he'll be a consistent scorer and the most consistent in that Arsenal attack. Would definitely shade him for a lot of midfielders, but if you're looking for a differential point, especially from Arsenal, who you're expecting to win quite a few games now with Leicester next after Man City, realm of possibility, even West Ham after. Alright, now talking about some double game week assets, we have Salah. Do I need to say why? No, I don't. He's Salah. Yes, he blanked the last 2 games in a row, but then he did score against Ipswich. I think the Bournemouth game and Everton game, he'll definitely get some points on the board. Would I triple captain him? No, but that's going to be more on my thread. You can check that out using the link in my description, take you to Twitter. It'll be uploaded on Friday. Next up, Alisson. I'd say Alisson is also could have. Reason being, what I see in that Liverpool-Everton fixture as for Pickford and the Leicester fixture is a clean sheet in the Leicester game. Now, I see a clean sheet for Alisson in the Everton game, but not in the Bournemouth game. And being priced at more than Pickford, I just don't think it was a good idea. Especially since you have Konate, who's cheaper in a defensive asset, and Trent, who's more expensive but yet so much more attacking potential. Bruno Fernandes. I think I'm going to do a few quick fire here. Bruno I'm going to put in could have. I think 90 minutes of penalty is very good, but he has started to play more deep recently, so that's going to take you quite far back. Ole Aina. For the near future, I'm going to go for won't have because their fixtures aren't good up until game week 29-30. Trent, I'm going to put him in, I think in must have, especially for going forward double game week, Wolves after that. He might blank in 29 if Liverpool do go out of the EFL Cup, but I think with the possibilities you've got with him, you've got a player who can haul big, who at the start of the season, despite not getting any attacking returns, looked so dangerous, and he's looked dangerous throughout there. Can invert into midfield, can make an underlapping run, can shoot outside the box, inside the box, takes corners. It's a great asset. Robinson. I'm going to put Robinson in could have. I think the reason for Robinson in wouldn't have is the fact that he's still got that attacking potential as opposed to a Castagna. But the fixtures, Newcastle, Forest, Palace, they're not good at all. And for that reason, he is probably going to move down. It's a bit of a harsh one, but Fulham are good at reducing their chances created. It is a very tough one. He is probably the closest one I've had so far. I'd probably put him could have. You're going to notice a pattern. A lot of these players are going to be in could have, but we are going to have some should have soon. James Maddison won't have. Look, I'm going to be the first one to say it. The fixtures are absolutely amazing now for Spurs still. Brentford, United, Ipswich in the next three. City, who they always do well against. But there's always a but. Maddison has just been so inconsistent with his playing time, and he was hard done by in yesterday's game because he felt a knock, carrying a bit of paint from Thursday in the Europa League, so the manager let him sit out. Postecoglou could be gone soon, and if that is the case, my position on him changed. But I think Postecoglou stays until the summer, and then they'll assess. Jared Butwin. At the moment, he's obviously a won't have because he's injured. But when he's back, he's another could have. He's a good differential in that respect. He just knows how to tick forward. He knows pound for pound asset. He's one of the best in the game. Ollie Watkins. With Villa's fixtures being Wolves, Ipswich, Chelsea, Palace, Brentford, they're not bad fixtures even after the Ipswich game. Is he a should have? No. He's a could have again. Reason being John Duran. Before John Duran got that suspension, that harsh suspension, he was playing week in, week out, he was scoring for fun. When he gets a suspension, Watkins comes back in, Watkins scores. They've got Champions League football. They'll have an FA Cup game. Who gets prioritised in which game based on the fixtures around it? I think Watkins, if it's Champions League or Premier League, Watkins is getting prioritised in the Champions League. But if it's a cup game, John Duran will play. There is a definite argument to have him in should have, which I'm probably going to do because on his day, given the high and realistic ceiling for points, he is quite good. Obviously, the budget constraints is one problem. Odegaard won't have. I saw enough for him when I watched him. I'm not even sure he'll be Arsenal's penalty taker if he's on the pitch at this point, given the FA Cup miss against United. I think having Odegaard play in the Arsenal team, if he's too high up the pitch, he's been rendered useless recently, especially when they're playing a low block. So when they're playing Leicester and West Ham, they're going to have to be better. He's going to have to drop back a bit, held back in transition. That's what I saw when Arsenal played Brentford. I loved the positions Odegaard was getting in, but for Arsenal, it was bad. A few more quick fire now. Ezri Konsa, I'm going to put in could have. Konate, should have. I think if you're going to have him, it'll be over Trent, but I wouldn't do it as a double up, and I wouldn't get Konate over Trent, given the attacking potential. Mark Gay, I'm going to go for won't have. He's had some good games, he's got some bonus, he's got some goals, but in terms of underlying numbers, he's not there. He plays centre back. He is realistic corner threat, which could be a lot of Palace's defenders. Next, we have Phil Foden. Phil Foden, I'm going to put in should have. Yes, the fixtures are starting to dry up for City, Arsenal, Newcastle, Liverpool, Tottenham, Forest. It does seem for the most part that City's blip is coming to an end, albeit the Champions League run. They signed Marmoush. Marmoush is playing out wide, still allowing Foden to come in central. You're not going to bench Foden in this form. You're not going to play Foden out of position in this form. He's here to stay. Even with the Arsenal game next, if Arsenal are without Odegaard and Saka for that fixture, there comes an over-reliance on their defence because Odegaard and Saka have a monumental impact when it comes to coming back and defending and helping their full-back and centre-back. Richarlison, I'm going to put in won't have. I just don't trust Tottenham enough realistically. I think they're still better value tied up in Kulusevski. He would be better than Maddison. He would be better than Maddison, but 2 goals in 2 games. He might be injured now as well. I just don't trust Tottenham enough. I mean, they're in the relegation battle for Pete's sake. Wisa should have. Quite simply, Wisa is a player that going forward you should have, especially for that team they're playing who's fighting relegation. Tottenham. After that, even West Ham, Leicester, Everton, Villa, Bournemouth. Brentford are what most people call an erratic team given the difference in home form and away form. They did tend to play all the easier teams at home whilst playing the hard teams away in the first half of the season. But with that in mind, even Tottenham, they do have high scoring games at the G-Tech. And against Tottenham, they are going to score a minimum of 2, most likely 3, maybe even 4. Wisa would be a key part of that. Normally when I watch Brentford, I see Wisa and I see him getting involved so heavily. So hopefully, if all goes well, I can get him by game week 24, maybe 25 even. Next up, Alexander Isak. He's a must-have, isn't he? I mean, Newcastle, maybe albeit the worst fixtures now. Fulham, City, Forest, Liverpool, until the fixture runs turns. I don't mind it. I mean, it's Isak at the end of the day. He's got 17 goals this season. I don't think I have to explain myself here. Kai Havertz, won't have. Just think he's not really that good at the moment. I mean, on his day, he can be very good, but I just don't trust Arsenal's attack enough, especially without that Saka and potentially without that Odegaard. Kluivert should have. Even with Liverpool fixture this week, I'd even put him should have there, but definitely from next week, he's a should have, if not even a must have. Now, there's comparisons with Semenyo and Dango Ouattara, and we'll cover that. We'll cover Semenyo now and Ouattara later. But for Kluivert, you have a man who's in the form of his life, son of Patrick Kluivert. So there definitely could be some more gifted potential there. But you have a son of a legend. Enough about that. You have someone who, in the form of his life, he's going to play 90 minutes given he's in the form of his life. And he's on penalties. Now, Bournemouth this season have tended to get a lot of penalties. So with that in mind, there's a case of why would you spend 0.7 less for Dango or 0.1 less for Semenyo when you can just get Kluivert? Kluivert would be first out of the 3 in my ranking. Dango would be second and Semenyo would be third, for anyone wondering. I mean, penalties are just penalties. They had 3 in a match against Wolves. Semenyo, he's going to be in could have. This isn't in any order between the segments of must have, should have, could have, won't have. But Semenyo would be in could have. I mean, he's Kluivert, but he's just without the penalties and without that, and worse finishing as well, actually. Haaland. Now, Haaland, I'm in between won't have and could have. I'm going to put him in won't have because, well, he's 14.7 million. It's quite hard to afford him. If you have him, I wouldn't sell unless you really needed to, because I don't think he's actually that bad of a player to own in the next fixtures. Obviously, is Arsenal next, but Newcastle, then Liverpool, then Tottenham. If Tottenham beat City this time, I would be very surprised, more than other times. But Haaland back into goal scoring form when the fixture runs turned. Even the game against Chelsea, goal and assist, albeit the goal from Sanchez's mistake. He's a won't have, but if you have him, I won't sell. Mykolenko next. For the double, he's a should have. Because that. But I am going to put him in could have because he's Mykolenko. I mean, he plays for Everton. There's good attacking potential. He has actually wandered to that left flank quite often, even this season and last season, so you can see there's a pattern. Instead of being a should have, he's a could have, because realistically, the ceiling's not that high, especially for that Liverpool game. The Leicester game, I expect probably a clean sheet, so overall 8 points. There's definitely a lot better defenders to go. If he's a 5th defender who you plan to hold for long term, then I think go for it. Gabriel. you should have Gabriel. I mean, and also defender should always be a key. Man City next, obviously. They will probably just sit back and park the bus against City. They always do. Then Leicester and West Ham. Great next three fixtures. And a man like Gabriel, who's so great on corners, especially with delivery of Rice, the set piece threat is immense. And he's one of the few centre backs who have that high attacking threat. Next, we're going to have a bit of Palace. Now, we have Mateta, Sarr, Eze, and Munoz. Mateta, for me, is a should have. Sarr is a won't have. Munoz is a should have. And Eze is a could have. Now, Mateta and Munoz are should haves. Munoz because of the great underlying attacking numbers. Third on expected goal involvements for defenders, just behind Guardiola and Trent Alexander-Arnold. Whereas Mateta, on penalties, in the form of his life again, he's doing very well, having a little purple patch again that we saw at the end of last season. Sarr, I just think between Mateta and Eze, there's so many goal contributions. A lot is going to be left for Sarr. There will be a game every once in a while where Sarr does pick up a few goal involvements in the game, but then I think it's just that game every once in a while. And at that price point, there are better options, such as Ahmad or Rodgers. Or even when you creep up slightly, you have your Clive or Semenya. Eze, he's below the other two because he just hasn't had that great haul yet. He hasn't got above 10 points in a while. When he does score, he does seem like he has a really good floor of points, but not a very good ceiling. And to be honest, you want a high version of the latter rather than the former when making a differential pick. Gordon, realistically, he's a should have. Even though the fixtures for Newcastle do slightly turn, as we said with Isak, he's Gordon. If someone's going to assist Isak, it's probably going to be Gordon. If Isak's going to assist someone, it's probably Gordon. If someone's going to be behind Isak on the bonus points in second, it's going to probably be Gordon. Gakpo and Diaz next. We'll add in Szoboszlai when we do this. Darwin would be a won't have, by the way. He's not on this list. Szoboszlai I'm going to put won't have because of rotation. He's not going to play both games. Diaz I'm going to put won't have because he's just not in the form that he should be. He's not in good form at all. I just wouldn't see it to it at this time, and I don't think he's going to start both games either. And then you have Gakpo, who's nailed that left wing spot down. He's definitely a should have, but I would probably creep him up towards a must have and slightly put Trent down, because if I was to go for a Liverpool triple up, I would probably go for those three, but double up I'd probably favour Gakpo. Rodgers next. I'm going to put Rodgers in could have. There's no reason to have him with so many great budget options, but within those options, there's also very few who really stand out. Ahmad being one of them. Palmer next. I mean, I wouldn't say Palmer's a must-have by any means. That is what I'd say if I had no brain cells. Of course, his form has dried up recently. Of course, last game he didn't do anything. Of course, he didn't do anything against Wolves. But he's still called Palmer. And with the fixtures being West Ham, Brighton, Villa, Southampton and Leicester, you're going to want to have him. He's on penalties. He plays 90 minutes. He has that week's rest when there's Europe, like he's going to have this week because he's not in the Conference League squad. Matheus Cunha next. Now, the thing is with Cunha, if it wasn't for the sheer amount of bonus points he'd get, he's a winner. Wolves are currently battling relegation, but here's that bright spot. Villa, Liverpool, Bournemouth, Fulham in the next four. Fulham managed to get limited chances down to a minimum with big chances. Villa, you don't like. Bournemouth, you don't like. Liverpool, you don't like. After that, he's probably a could have or even a should have. At the moment, given the people that Cunha's passing to don't seem to be very bright, I would probably go for other options. I mean, you have Isak, you have Wood, you have Mateta. There's no reason to have Cunha. The bonus points are great. Yes, he gets 24 on the bonus point system when he scores a goal, and he does normally get bonus points when he picks up a goal assist. But I just wouldn't have him. I just think there's so many better options than the fixtures at the moment. Now, come game week 28, that's probably going to change. But we don't know that yet. Iliman Ndiaye, the last of the double game week assets, along with Van Dijk. Van Dijk, for me, is a won't have. Yes, you're going to get the odd game where he bullet header, where he scores a goal, he gets 6 points, great. But when you compare him to Konate, there's a player in there where you have Konate who's 1 million cheaper and same attacking potential. Maybe it's ever so slightly less. But the clean sheet potential is the same, the minutes are the same, and the attacking potential is pretty much the same. Iliman Ndiaye, he's a could have, realistically, a won't have probably. Because despite what a lot of people think, he's might be injured actually, first of all, so that's a definite won't have if he's injured. But you got to remember when you're talking about how good he's doing and how good he's playing, he still plays for Everton. They are playing less than double game week, yes, which was a game he did score in, by the way. But they are also playing against Liverpool. So a lot of Everton players, for me, I'm trying to look at this more as a single game week than double game week. If you already have them, great. But if you don't have them, you look at 1 and a bit matches rather than 2. The rest of the players now, we have Dejan Kulusevski, who I'm going to put in could have. If I'm going to have a Tottenham player, I'm going to have Kulusevski. For me, he's probably the brightest spot this season for them, with his new playmaker role. If you're going to have a point on Tottenham, he would be the player I'm looking at. Next up, Brian Mbeumo, must have. Wies's a should have, and Mbeumo's a must have. And Mbeumo has those penalties, has those great minutes, is in great goal scoring form most of the time, and a lot of his goals do come against relegation threatened sides. And playing Leicester in the next 4 will definitely help with that. West Ham and Everton as well. Tottenham, another relegation threatened side actually. I think Mbeumo was going to do very well over the next few weeks. It was game week 3, a whole 21 game weeks ago, in my first proper video essentials, where I tipped him to do very well. And I'm going to tip him once again when the ownership among the top 10k slightly died down. But I'm going to tip him again to go big. This time it's going to be a lot less impressive. We're going to look at Xerxes and Højlund next. I'm going to put them both in one have. Mainly due to the fact that Xerxes, when he's on the pitch, he's a lot better than Højlund. Højlund has been a bit stinky recently. But with that in mind, Højlund hasn't really had a shot either. When Xerxes on, he's actually a lot better. But same question, he doesn't really have a shot. And when they have shots, they're not really threatening. So when the United attacker, with actually Ahmad especially, you have a player who's going to be threatening, who's going to have a shot. But with these two, I don't see it. Amad Diallo, I'm going to put him in should have. Reason being, he's just a lot better than the other United midfielders. He's going to be the one who's going to score, along with Bruno, to be fair, but he's 3 million cheaper, and I do see a lot more goal-scoring threat from Ahmad than I do from Bruno. If you're going to have a fifth midfielder, once again, he would be that standout choice. Anthony Elanga, I'm going to put in won't have. Nottingham Forest just got beaten 5-0 by Bournemouth. There's 2 ways they could go from here. They could either bounce back in incredible form and beat their next opponents 5 out of 5 games, or they could completely capitulate. I'm not sure which one's going to be which. I think they'll be somewhere in between, where they just looked a bit shell-shocked, and I think they're going to go back to their low block approach, and they're not going to try and attack teams like they did attack Bournemouth. With Elanga, in that respect, counter-attacking football is great, and it's how they got so many points. But against Brighton, inconsistent team this week, I don't mind him. I wouldn't want him against Fulham. I wouldn't want him against Newcastle. I wouldn't want him against Arsenal, and I wouldn't want him against City. Especially when you have those other options once again. Guardiola for me is a could have. There's a lot of budgeting issues with it because you'd already in this instance have Trent and Gabriel. But Guardiola's done very well too. He got a goal last game, clean sheet the game before. He was playing pretty much left forward as an inside forward against Chelsea. And as a non-owner, it just felt really scary not to own him. So if you want him for the next few games, he's there. And he could be a very good differential punt, a way to cover a Man City attack and defence at once. Heung-min Son, I'm going to put him where I have. I'll admit I was wrong about Son. I thought he'd be great, especially in that Leicester game. But one, Tottenham on in it, and two, what team he didn't threaten me to have any threat. He didn't realistically put pressure on. He was a bit neutral, a bit dry, a bit dead. I mean, obviously Tottenham are playing a high volume of games. They got Europa League again. That's going to be another win for them. They have to win this one, otherwise they're going to be at risk of playoffs. But you've got to bear that in mind. And it's going to be another tight Son. They've got no choice but to play him. I mean, with the injury situation, soon he might be in left back. But he's an avoid for me. We're going to look at Chris Wood. Chris Wood is still a should have. Look, I get the fixtures are bad, but Chris Wood is a player who's going to keep ticking you along. Whether you like it or not, Chris Wood will keep ticking you along. He's done it for 24 games a season, and he's probably going to do it for the other 14. Yes, his XG isn't that good, but he may stink up the whole game. He'll have one shot, and he'll go in. And that is Chris Wood. His conversion rate last season, he was the best conversion rate in the league. And this season's conversion rate's been nothing short of excellent. So when I see on my timeline people saying they're going to sell Chris Wood, it's definitely not a priority. Definitely not. Last three people, before we get the video time to 30 minutes, we'll look at three more Bournemouth players. We're going to look at Ouattara, who I've talked about already. I'm going to put him ahead of Semenyo. And that is because, realistically, Ouattara is playing strike in the absence of Evan Olsen and Unai. We all thought it'd be Semenyo. Semenyo's shooting to goal ratio is actually very low, and especially compared to that Kluivert or Ouattara. Ouattara stepped up. He got 84 points all season. 21 of it was in the last week, but he's been playing striker since in that absence, and he's been playing very well. Bournemouth as well, playing very well. Now, just another look. Obviously, Liverpool next week, then Southampton, Wolves, Brighton, Tottenham, Brentford, Ipswich. And even after Ipswich, they have West Ham. Then you have Fulham. Then you have Palace. Then you have United. Then you have Arsenal. So from now until game week 35, there's no hard fixtures. So he would be a could have. And in the respect of a could have, you could be a double up with Kluivert. Like if you were to move Rodgers and a mid-price midfielder down to a Kluivert and a Dango, I wouldn't be against it. Now, two Bournemouth defenders, Kerkez and Hudson. The way I'm going to put this is, Kerkez is a should have and Hudson is a could have. With the view that Kerkez is the more attacking defender. He costs 0.4 more, but he's the more attacking defender. He's the better one for the reason he's scored goals recently. He's 2 in the last 5 game weeks. The fixtures definitely stand out a lot more to him given the opposition's right-hand side. But if you can't afford Kerkez, the Spanish rock in Huijsen could definitely appeal to you as well. On sale from Juventus, he's got a lot of potential and he's helping that backline immensely. I mean, they've conceded the least out of any team in the past 11 games. Well, anyway, that is my transfer tier list for game week 30. It was a bit of a long video, a bit of a waffle, but I do post all these on Twitter. If I ever don't do a video, I will still do a tier list for the week. And I'm enjoying making this video. I hope you've enjoyed watching it. If you have enjoyed watching it, let me know down in the comments below. And as always, may your arrows be green.